Hi, this is the video for 11th grade English for Tuesday, January 19th. Yes. So today was not tons of new instruction. It was focused on the précis. The précis is something that we really begin in earnest this week and we finish next week. It is your final. And in submitting it to me next week, you'll be saying, I'm done with all of the work for this class. They're due by January 29th. Though the sooner in the week you can get them in, the better. Then I can give you feedback and you could maybe even revise them until the day they're due. There are 7 texts that you can choose from. You need to choose 2 texts for your précis. You'll write 2 paragraphs in total, and they don't necessarily need to speak to one another. I just thought you could have the freedom to choose if you couldn't focus it on one, but they don't necessarily need to exist as like a pair. I say you have 7 choices, and today I gave your classmates one last choice to add to the mix. So I'll show you that briefly. I can't show the whole clip, I'm afraid, but I can show you where to find it. In the agenda, you'll see a link to the Civil War slides, and the last 3 slides of the slideshow are about the 7th text. So last week we ended on the question of Confederate monuments, and we looked at 2 pieces that frame the issue from both perspectives, whether they should come down or whether they should stay up. One of the arguments people make on both sides is we recognize these are not a complete history. They are not the only emblem that comes out of the Civil War, which is a problem if you want to take them down and a problem if you want to keep them up. In both cases, there needs to be a fuller telling of that story of the Civil War. So I offer to you one such story that is a little known tale that complicates the narrative of the Civil War. It's from an episode of a PBS documentary called The Future of America's Past. I'm calling the author Ed Ayers, even though it's a documentary, so the author could be the director or the producer or the screenwriter, but we're going to say it's Ed Ayers, who is the narrator, who you'll see in this video. And my question is about the claims that he is making. So if you are going to choose this, you'll really need to study it, but I encourage you to check it out. Click on the link here and go to minute 3:15 and watch until 8:30. So last option. If you choose this text, questions are, what is the claim he is making? What is his purpose and audience? Just like all of the others. And in our group note-taking document, I went ahead and filled in a couple of the claims that he is making. The first is that slaves freed themselves during the Civil War by flocking in huge numbers to Fort Monroe, which is near Hampton, Virginia, and forming a kind of refugee camp there. So the story, I think the simplistic story is there was a fight, there was a war, Union soldiers fought Confederate soldiers. That is what determined the fate of slaves. This complicates that story by saying no, many slaves were seeking their own freedom and securing it. Of course, it's all embedded in the history of the war. It wouldn't make sense without the war, but it still gives you a fuller picture of the war. And the second claim is about the very first place that slaves were brought to America in 1619. So the claim there I'm making is the spirit of Africa is a bedrock of American identity. The spirit of those African ancestors permeates the early history of America, and that's a couple of minutes clip that they'll take you through to show you what that founding day celebration looks like, or landing day celebration looks like. All right, so the 7th text. From there, in your class, we went to the précis, we went over the final one more time, and I gave your classmates the rest of time to workshop. So just a reminder, you can find the link here. This is the structure of the précis that you're going to be writing. There's an even more complete frame if you'd rather work from a kind of graphic organizer. And then there's a model. And lastly, there are the directions. Pick 2 texts from our selection of 7. Write your 2 précis paragraphs in the big Google Doc for the final 2 weeks of class. So we left with this suggestion from me that today the best thing you can do is select your 2 texts. Know what they're going to be. and begin to read them or reread them. No writing, just the thinking. And then tomorrow we'll begin writing. Thank you very much.